Okay, guys, I am really excited about this one because we will be taking a look at development updates for Into the Flames 2, the follow-up title for Into the Flames. As you know, things have been somewhat stale in the firefighting gaming genre for a while, actually, and it looks like that's going to be changing in a big way. As far as when, I don't know, but hopefully sooner than later, as I am stoked for some more firefighting content. On July the 9th, a fully involved game studios released their first development log for Into the Flames 2, highlighting multiple core game changes and improvements to the new title. But first, I need to throw in the usual disclaimer that everything we look at, see, and discuss is always subject to change by the time the final product is released. It's still in very early development stages. So here are some of the basics we know about the game so far. The initial release will be Boston themed, which I think is awesome, and I am absolutely stoked about that. You gotta love being a firefighter from Boston. I think Boston will provide a nice mix of structures and responses similar to but different from your typical like FDNY theme. Will the map itself be Boston themed? I'm not sure, but the initial release will include 4 trucks or 4 pieces of equipment. What those will be has not been announced, but I'd imagine probably an engine, a ladder, and 2. I don't know what the other 2 pieces would be. Maybe an SUV or something else. I'm really not sure. I don't think an ambulance. I think it'd be more fire related. Later on, there will be expansion packs that will introduce more equipment, and it looks like each expansion could potentially be theme based, such as Chicago, New York, LA fire departments. I think he also mentioned a rural fire department expansion, but these have yet to be fleshed out as he's still focused on core game development. I really hope this opens up theme based realistic maps. So if you want that Boston feel, there's a Boston map, a rural map for volunteer fire departments, but this is purely speculation on my part. At a minimum, I'm going to assume that it's probably going to be more like a generic Canton County map to cover everything, but I think new variations on different maps would be really, really nice. So if you watch this 2 development video logs so far, you're going to see there are a lot of changes coming to the game. So we're going to try to go through some of the changes and features that really caught my eye. The first one is going to be updated characters that include more detail as well as Boston themed equipment and gear in the initial release. But one change that really caught my eye more than anything was a new first person view and animation that just has a better feel or flow to it. It definitely looks more natural because, you know, usually a lot of times your first person views are pretty canned as far as like how they look. It's like a default bobbing up and down breathing deal. This just it's just like the whole thing just moves around and flows a lot better. There's also new mask up animations in the first and third person views that look really good as well. Our next feature, and this is a big one for me, is fully interactive trucks. And when I say fully interactive, I mean everything. All doors and compartments will open and close and be fully interactive. Compartments will be somewhat customizable where you can change the location, change tool locations with similar tools. So it sounds like you'll be able to move things around and place them where you want to a certain degree, as long as they're similar. Like you can't put a fan where a Halligan goes or anything like that, but they got to be kind of similar. It looks a lot like the Merge NYC in this aspect, and I'm talking about like the interactive bays and stuff like that. And it's a feature that I've always really, really liked. I think it adds a lot to the overall immersion, and I think it's a good direction to go for the game. What's better than running to the back of your engine and opening a compartment and like grabbing the tools you need off? The cab interior will also be fully interactive with clickable buttons and switches. The engine that he gave us a peek at in the video also included a pump gear, and he mentioned that there will be truck maintenance. What that includes, he hasn't said at this point, so I'm not quite sure like how in-depth that's going to be, but it's interesting thing to have for sure. Another big one is the pumping UI menu has also been removed, and the pump controls will be fully interactive. He mentioned in the video that he really wanted to eliminate as many menus as he could, as they were somewhat immersion breaking by taking you out of the game, and I totally agree with that. Is the pumping system going to be realistic or simplified? We don't really know at this point. I know the current system that we have right now is somewhat simplified. Like, it's got some aspects from real life, but I think it's definitely a highly simplified version of pumping. So it's going to be interesting to see how in-depth that gets. Another really cool feature will be a story mode where you start out as a recruit. And he even mentioned that you might have to take a simple civil service test as well as a CPAT, which is a candidate physical ability test. Eventually, you will move past recruit to rookie, and more things will unlock as you are promoted. I'm not sure if that means access to more tools and abilities or better tolerances, like eating smoke. You know, if you're a more seasoned player, more experienced firefighter, then you're able to tolerate smoke and heat more. But he did say that there will be training and stats that will make you more proficient at certain tasks, like forcing doors open. So if you train to force doors open, then you're going to do it a lot quicker the more you train at it, supposedly. If the story mode is not your thing, then there will still be a sandbox mode available that will have everything unlocked and available to the players, so you don't have to worry about that if it's something that you're not interested in. There's also going to be a revised health system with a new temperature bar that increases with heat exposure. Once it reaches a certain threshold, your character will then start to take damage. It's going to be directly tied to room temperature, so if the fire room that you're in is somewhat cool, you can tolerate it and you won't take any damage at all. But it's definitely something that you have to keep an eye on as far as your health. With that said, it sounds like you also have the ability to cool the fire room with the hose and water, or possibly even venting. So if you pop a door into a room that's on fire and it's really hot in there, you can try to cool it down before you make entry. So that's a really cool aspect. Another cool feature he mentioned is the new game will also include building inspections, where you have to inspect smoke alarms and fire alarm panels. This will be one of the core mechanics of the game. So I kind of wonder if this ties into the whole rookie thing in story mode, where like rookies get the more menial tasks where you have to go do building inspections. So that's going to be different. Moving on, responses will now be goal-based and include tasks like securing gas and electric, which is a big one for me. You know, we've talked about that a lot. Rescuing victims, extinguishing the fire, and finally venting the structure. If I understand correctly, you will have no idea how many potential victims are in the structure, but he did mention something in one of the videos about bystanders and them being able to give you an idea of how many people might be in there. This is definitely an intriguing aspect of the game, but I really hope that the gameplay is not ended with a failure only to start over again like Firefighting Simulator, the squad. Hopefully it lets you play things out start to finish, and then you are assessed on your successes or failures of, did you get all the people out? Did you hit all your criteria? That sort of thing. Because nothing's more aggravating in Firefighting Simulator, the squad, than to miss a victim or not be able to find them. Then it just ends. Like, it doesn't end in real life. It shouldn't end in game, right? Like, there's no do-overs in real life. So it's going to be interesting to see how that's fleshed out. Another cool change to the game will be new hose and hydrant mechanics that include hoses with fixed lengths and couplings. Hoses will provide more accurate pathing and the ability to flake them out, and engines will be hose limited. So you're not going to have unlimited hoses anymore. You're only going to have what you have on the engine, which is absolutely true to life. If you need more hose, then you got to bring more engines. And as you guys know, I love detail, and this next one is super cool. There will be a new and detailed hydrant system that will make them much more interactive. Based on the video, you'll have the ability to remove the cap and crack the hydrant open with your hydrant wrench, but that is not enough for you die-hard virtual firefighters. You will even have the ability to flush the hydrants When you flush them, the water will start out muddy or dirty and eventually clear up. If you do not do this before connecting your fire engine's intake, you could potentially damage the pump on your truck. There'll also be a hydrant maintenance aspect to the game. I'm not sure what that includes at the moment, but the new hydrant system is definitely a feature that I hope makes into the final game. Is honestly one of my favorites so far that I've seen. Like, that's really cool. Moving on to the last one, fire mechanics. You can't have a firefighting game without fires, and this is basically the meat and potatoes as far as what we know right now. The fires themselves will have all new mechanics and stages. Stages will include a beginning or development phase, which is the initial ignition. It'll have a growth phase and a fully developed phase. Fires will have pathing based on airflow, and ignition will be realistic, such as starting from cigarettes, appliances, pots on stoves, wall outlets. Let's see what else. And yeah, that's basically what he said so far, but I kind of wonder if like electrical wiring could be a thing too. He did mention in his second video that if a wall outlet is sparking, you'll have to turn the power off and then open the wall up to make sure that there's no fire inside the wall. With the electrical stuff, it also looks like you have access to the circuit breaker inside the home every time, so that's standard power and gas. I'm curious how that plays out in real life versus pulling the meter on the exterior, which so far has not been included in the game as far as I can tell. You guys are real life firefighters. Do you always go in and look for the breaker in the home or the building first, or do you go with the meter on the exterior as well? I guess it's highly situational, right? Like if it's fully involved, then you're probably more likely to do it externally than the breaker box inside. Furniture will also be combustible and burn to nothing, as well as walls and floors. It looks like all items will be fully combustible, so if you take your time reaching the second floor to rescue someone, your stairs may very well completely burn up, and you could potentially become trapped or not be able to access your victim. Anyway, these are just a few of the features and mechanics that have been announced. I still have a lot of questions, but so far it sounds really promising, and I can't wait to see more on the development of this game. And with all that said, we will catch you guys next time. Peace.
No, big cat, no.